Hi guys, welcome to another video. This one's going to be about the I Ching. I learned how to pronounce it. It's actually I Ching, not I Ching. And this book is by Carol K. Anthony. And I'm going to be reading some things that I highlighted from this, and hopefully she won't mind, but it's kind of like free advertising for her book, so it shouldn't be a problem. And so yeah, I didn't really know much about this book, so I just pulled up the Wikipedia page. Like, I've read the whole book, but I didn't even know anything about it. But yeah, so this is what Wikipedia says. Kind of blew my mind. Okay, so the I Ching, also known as the Classic of Changes, Book of Changes, or something I can't pronounce, is one of the oldest of the Chinese classic texts. The book contains a divination system comparable to Western geomancy or the West African Ifa system. In Western cultures and modern East Asia, it is still widely used for this purpose. And I had no idea that it was supposed to be divination. Like, that's some Harry Potter stuff. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's fucking magical, so magic is real. Okay. Yeah. So traditionally, the I Ching and its hexagrams were thought to predate recorded history. And based on traditional Chinese accounts, its origins trace back to the 3rd to the 2nd millennium BC. Modern scholarship suggests that the earliest layers of the text may date from the end of the 2nd millennium BC, but place doubts on the mythological aspects in the traditional accounts. Some consider the I Ching the oldest extant book of divination, dating from 1000 BC and before. The oldest manuscript that has been found, albeit incomplete, dates back to the Warring States period, 475 to 221 BC. So yeah, there's more on that. See if I want to read anything else. Okay. It was reinterpreted as a system of cosmology and philosophy that subsequently became intrinsic to Chinese culture. It's centered on the ideas of the dynamic balance of opposites, the evolution of events as a process, and acceptance of the inevitability of change. So yeah, this book got me through a really hard time in my life, and I think it helps with depression, it helps with boredom. Got me through a really boring time and depressing time. So I am going to read some things that I highlighted, and I'm actually going to make this into 2 videos, because here's a confession. I just filmed a whole video on this, but I didn't have the microphone on. Wow. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason. And I decided, sorry, that's why my voice is gone. But, so yeah, I decided to make this in 2 videos. Alright. Okay, so the first, and these are all hexagrams. And when they refer to the ego, that's like the inferior nature. And yeah, so you have an inferior nature, and I forgot what the other one's called. Okay. So, and I'm going to read the title of the chapters, and yeah, and then some things I highlight. Alright, so the creative. The creative is at work. Change is in motion in a dynamic, creative way. This hexagram is also about attaining the cosmic viewpoint. So apparently, you're not supposed to read it like straight through, but I read it straight through, and it's really cool because it's like it builds on itself. And some of the things I say are going to be repetitive, but it's just kind of like reinforcing the principles, and I think it's the important stuff. But definitely get the book if you like this, and it's like the oldest wisdom. You know, it's like, you know, some of these concepts are going to be very familiar. Okay. Alright, so time is the vehicle by which the power of the creative works. Only in this slow, organic way does everything become as it should be. Because time is the means, perseverance is necessary. Perseverance means to wait in an attitude of docility and acceptance, free of hope and doubt, with an alert and open mind. So, yeah, stuff like that. Okay, it is the nature of the creative to be ironic, to make the unlikely work, and to bring success one day late. So you might feel like hopeless and you're about to commit suicide, or you do commit suicide, and ironically, something crazy happens like a week later or the next day, So, yeah, just trust in the universe, okay? This seeming obstinacy by fate to the creative occurs because the creative will not respond to the presumptions and demands of our inferior man, ego, or a begrudging or indolent surrender. So, yes. So, act spontaneously and innocent as each moment requires. The event we often see as hostile is nature's way of restoring balance. So if you're going through like a really hard time and you view it as hostile, it's nature's way of restoring balance. The forces of the creative and the receptive becomes activated to stop this trajectory by whatever means necessary. The next thing is the receptive. Bear with everything as the earth bears with all that lives on it. A part of our receptivity is to let things happen by allowing ourselves to be guided by the moment. Okay, next, difficulty at the beginning. If we persevere, things will work out. If we can persevere in non-action and disengagement, the creative will resolve everything correctly. A true perspective is possible only when we disperse the pressures that urge us to act, and when we relinquish seeing the situation as a problem requiring intervention. So, yeah. This means we wait until we attain the help of the creative to understand what we must do. Okay, next, and like in the last video, I explained everything a little bit, but it made the video really long, so I'll just let you guys interpret it the way that you want to and stuff. Okay, next one is conflict. Stop asking why. Okay, so desire occurs when we doubt the creative process. In doubting and desiring, we lose the inner independence that empowers truth. To avoid this kind of conflict, we need to become path-oriented and patient, rather than goal-oriented and impatient. In our desire, we forget that the step at hand, that of patient waiting, is the only step that leads to our goal. Waiting patiently is the important work of the moment. Peace comes from accepting that only slow progress endures. We may safely turn the matter over to the sage and to fate. In this way, the conflict will be resolved in the correct way. We can argue all we like with fate, but nothing will be changed. Next, the army. Prepare for a war. A test is about to take place. A correct attitude is one of inner independence and alertness. We never attempt wholesale changes, skip steps, or stop to luxuriate in our gains. We keep ourselves guided steadily forward, aware of what has taken place but not dwelling on it. Our true self does not need to contend or strive. We need to forgive ourselves and bury our mistakes, along with the injured pride, anger, and impatience that accompany them that darken our inner light. So forgive yourself and your mistakes and your pride. Okay. The path of reticence, wherein slow progress brings about enduring change, is best. Holding together, union. We hold all things together by holding to what is correct within ourselves. Our inner attitude determines everything. Are we able to remain firm when we would rather be soft? Constant when we would rather quit? And steadfast in spite of pressures from the emotional baby within that demonically insist that we force matters to a conclusion? Few people, on beginning their spiritual journeys, possess such capabilities. If we become aware that fear and doubt and their attendant emotions have their origin in our tendency to wonder, want, and worry, then we will avoid the seemingly harmless tendency to look aside or ahead or behind that gives rise to wondering, wanting, and worrying. Our path lies in proceeding straight ahead, innocently, holding to our inner independence, and in the face of challenges, keeping ourselves alert, steady, and serene as the shining lake. I'm laughing because my voice is gone. Okay. Yeah. We must not arrogantly decide the future or forget that the sage has ways of teaching. We draw people into a correct relationship only by our inner strength and consistency. When they perceive that we are firm in our values, they will cease testing or trying to manipulate or dominate us. If we carelessly dismiss someone's insensitive behavior just to get on with things, we pave the way for future difficulties. So, stand up for yourself and your values. The taming power of the small. One more step in the process of correcting the situation has been completed. The presence of ambition indicates that we do not yet trust the path of non-action. We need to rest content with the small gains achieved. Baby steps. Impatience, which springs from desire and doubt, indicates our ego's attempt to dominate the situation. An effort that is doomed to failure. We should conscientiously return to the path of humility and acceptance. Our situation falls apart when we abandon patient waiting. We rush things when we become afraid that the right time may not occur soon enough. Under the influence of fear, negation, and desire, we are unable to attain the objectivity we need to find the right solution. Without the right solution, things turn out badly and we have regrets. So don't rush things. So letting go. True power lies in reticence, tranquility, and detachment. We must do our own work and do not look to others to do it for us. If we regard ourselves as better than another, the gained wealth is hoarded and modesty lost. To be rich yet remain modest is to be devoted. So I hope this isn't like I'm reading scripture or something. It's just like philosophy and things I thought were cool. Okay. Treading conduct on attempting to force progress. If we self-confidently and obstinately follow the wrong path, as we do when we try to create opportunities to influence rather than allowing them to evolve, we get bitten. When we truly let people go, healing begins. We make progress so long as we remain detached and free of selfish considerations. When we self-confidently think we can overcome fate by aggressive effort, we are sure to experience a rebuff. The more correct our position, the more modest we must become. Danger is incurred when we self-righteously think what people ought to do. Such thinking is an interference in their spiritual space. So, lay off, people. Not only do they sense our feelings of superiority, our supervisory attitude prevents them from doing what is right of their own volition. Our duty is to truly let people find their own way to doing what is right. This, sorry, some things are like out of context, so. Okay, peace. Through relating correctly, we have achieved peace. Maintaining peace, however, requires that we remain firm in inner discipline. When we withdraw from a negative assessment of affairs and return to humble acceptance, the obstruction evaporates. When we withdraw from negative assessment of affairs and return to humble acceptance, the obstruction evaporates. This means that we do not condition what we do by what others do, but keep to our path. Be true to yourself. At the same time, we should remain open-minded and patient with those who play games. We do not allow ourselves to depend emotionally on people or events. By expecting the unexpected and by always being prepared for tensions to resume, we avoid making plans based on things always going well or always going badly. So, you can't predict the future. I don't know. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to interpret stuff as I go along, but that's not good. Okay, the remedy, stagnation, no progress, which is what we deal with when we're depressed. The remedy is to disengage from looking at the situation. We abandon neither our principles nor our goals. When we have established inner calm, the clarity needed to put things into perspective becomes possible. Until then, nothing can be done. It is important not to linger in the crossroads of self-conflict or to search for the precisely correct attitude, for the solution is not to be found in this way. It is better to detach from looking at the situation and go on our way. If we can accept that we are meant to patiently persevere, then by itself, fate will indicate the way. The root of the problem is pulled up, resolved, when we disengage from looking at it and from trying to influence the negative situation. This is also the path of least resistance. We should always maintain the integrity and independence of our path. If we have produced a change for the better through attaining humility and conscientiousness, we may secure progress only by holding to these attitudes perseveringly. This perfect acceptance of events as devices of the creative and reliance on the power of the true and the good defeats the negative effects of hope and fear and guarantees success. Okay. The creative effort required is that of consistently keeping our inner attitude correct. The thoughts that spring from a pure heart and mind, like Cupid's golden arrows, automatically hit their mark in the hearts of others, influencing them for the good without their being aware of it. Right, possession in great measure. Now you understand. Through achieving inner independence, our way of life is empowered, and we unconsciously influence others. Modesty. Go forward constantly, conscientiously, despite mistakes. Okay, I'm going to end it after this, because my voice, okay. It is modesty to restrain the desire to make leaps of progress. Okay. Striving indicates that our ego resists the situation and distrusts where the path leads. Modesty is to allow ourselves to be dependent on the cosmos. Modesty expresses itself when we resist the inner voices of doubt and hold an open mind. This does not mean we are expected to believe with blind trust, but rather we remain open-minded and patient, enough to give the sage's counsel a chance to prove its trustworthiness. Modesty is found in simplicity and openness, and in an active resistance to negative habits of mind. The arrogant presumptions that shut us off either from the help of the sage or from the potential for good that other people have, and from the possibilities inherent in the unexpected. Only the sage knows how to make things work to our true best interests. It is modesty to keep our minds open and recognize that the zigzag path of the creative works to the benefit of all. So, if things are fucked up, it's working to the benefit of all. Okay. When we hold with determination to these principles, a good influence on others cannot be prevented. So, this also means we stop listening to impatience, self-pity, anger, apprehension, and other emotions that dissolve our will to keep open and humble. A modest attitude accepts that it is the way of the sage to achieve our goals by finding in events the correct way to proceed. We pre-structure nothing, but rely on what we already have learned from the I Ching of duty and a correct sense of limits. We take our cue from events and look to the essence of each matter put before us. This is to go with the flow. Of course, it's the long chapter. Okay. Okay. Alright. My voice is gone, and I'm sorry that the video I already recorded, I didn't put the microphone on, but oh well. So, yeah, that was some stuff from that. I'm probably going to do 2 more parts, and if you didn't like that part, it kind of is slow to get started, but it gets good by the end. Like, yeah, it gets good by the end. So if you didn't like that part, then maybe you'll like the other 2 parts. So stay tuned for those. And yeah, I recommend the book. Oh. Okay, so subscribe to my channel, join the forum, put the links below, and my Facebook. And yeah, I hope you got something from that video. I don't know. But this helped me a lot, and maybe it'll help you too. And I'll keep reading some of the messages that I got from it. But there's a lot in there. So anyway, I hope you guys have a really great day, and alrighty. Alright, bye.